Hi there and welcome to another podcast episode. My name is Luisa, but everybody calls me Lu, and we are definitely headed into spring around here. The days are getting cooler, the sky is bright blue today. I am even wearing a Madeleine sweater for the first time, so it's the perfect day to talk about knitting, and I have a lot of things to update you on. I have one work in progress and two new cast-ons that I'm really excited about. So let's jump right in with my tea project. What I have here is the Show Your Colors tea by Sari Nordlund, and I am using 100% cotton for this project. This is a new to me yarn from Søstrene Grene, and this is my main color, this off-white, almost green color, and I chose 4 different colorways for my contrast colors. I still can't remember the colorway names, so I will put them on the screen for you guys. And this is my first time knitting with this yarn, and I'm happy to report that I'm really enjoying it so far. Now let me get my hanger so that I can show you my project, and here we go. This is my Show Your Colors tea so far, and it looks so stinking cute. When I was still working on the yoke, I wasn't really sure about this chocolatey brown that I chose, but now that I have the body done, I'm so glad I went with this shade. I have a good mix of warm and cool tones. I think it pairs really nicely with the other colors and brings everything together. Let me show you the back. It's basically the same thing, but it looks so cute. Anyway, I wasn't expecting to like this project as much because this is just a stockinette tee with stripes, but I don't know, I think it looks so fun and happy, you know? I just feel happy when I look at this project, which is really nice. Now, talking about the yoke first, if you look at the pattern photos, she separates for sleeves right after finishing this second set, in my case of green stripes, and I'm completely off gauge as I always am, and I usually like to shorten the yoke of my garments, most times, so finishing the yoke down here, there was no way I was going to do that, so I separated for the sleeves kind of halfway through my green stripes, and I really like the fit of this tee so far. But since I only have 3 green stripes on my sleeves, I am going to pick my green yarn back up to finish my set of green stripes when I'm ready to knit the sleeves. And I think that's what I'm going to do next. The body is completely done. I went with what the pattern suggests, which is a folded stockinette edge. I hope you can see it. I went down, I think, 1 needle size for the hem here, and at least so far it's not flaring out, which is really nice, especially considering this yarn is 100% cotton, but I think there's a chance that I will need to go back and thread some elastic just to keep everything in place in the future. But like I said, I am really enjoying this yarn, especially for the price point. I think this costs less than €3, but now I'm not so sure. I don't remember if it's €2.38 or €3.28, but it's one of the two. Anyway, it has a good price point, and at least so far, I only came across 1 knot, so I would say that's pretty good for a yarn such as this one. Now, talking about the body, although it doesn't look like it, all my white stripes have the same width. But if you look at this last one here next to the hem, it doesn't look as wide as the other ones, right? Maybe it's just in my head, but I think this one looks, 2/3 of the width of this other white stripe here, for example. but I counted my rounds and everything is right. I have the same number of rows, so I don't know what happened here. Maybe it's just because there isn't another set of colorful stripes after this white stripe, but anyway, what matters is it looks cute and I'm really happy with the final look of this hem. Now, I'm still missing the sleeves, of course. I still don't know if I'm going to knit an entire white stripe after I am done with the green stripe on the sleeves, but I will make a decision when the time comes. And I also don't know what I want for the color, because if I remember correctly, the pattern calls for, I think, 1x1 ribbing, 2x2 ribbing, or something like that. It's some kind of ribbing, and I don't know, I think maybe I might prefer a folded stockinette edge, or maybe even an I-cord. I don't think ribbing would match the rest of this tee, but I don't know. It's just something that's crossing my mind, and I will make a decision when it's time to knit the color. But this is my Show Your Colors tee so far. I'm really excited about this, and I want to finish this in time for the final weeks of summer. I think there's enough time to finish this tee and get a couple of wears out of it. But let's move on to the first of my two cast-ons. And last episode of the podcast, I was sharing with you guys the whole drama that was me trying to cast on the Midland cardigan by Laura Penrose. I couldn't make it work for the life of me with the yarn I wanted to use, which is this one. This is Juniper Farn Patagonia in the colorway 128 Mulberry. This is the colorway name. This gorgeous dark pink color that, well, like I said, it's gorgeous, but I couldn't make it work. The Midland calls for a DK weight yarn. This is sport weight. My gauge was completely off, and long story short, I decided to shop from my stash, add stripes, knit a different project, and just have fun with my knitting again. So what I have settled on is the Mara Blouse by the Knit Purl Girl. This is a satin sleeve construction. Like I said, I wanted to add stripes to mine and start the stripes from the cast on edge. But if you look at the Mara Blouse picture and the Soulless tee that I finished just a couple of weeks ago, they look very similar. And I could have used the Soulless tee pattern instead of buying the Mara Blouse, but I only realized that after I had already bought it. So, well, here I am, and at least I am supporting a knitwear designer. This is my first time knitting a pattern by the Knit Purl Girl, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So the yarns I'm using for my Mara Blouse, I have 3 yarns here. The first one, my main color, is this dark pink that I already showed you guys. And I am pairing this yarn with BC Garn by Shetland in the colorway 53. I think this colorway name is Terracotta. I don't really know how to pronounce that, but let me show you the colorway number in case you want to check it out online. This is a gorgeous rusty orangey red color that I think it's one of the most beautiful colors I've ever seen in a yarn. And it's not my first time knitting with this yarn. I really enjoy it, but this is fingering weight. My Juniper Farn Patagonia is sport weight, so I decided to add 1 strand of lace weight alpaca together with my Bio Shetland strand to get close to sport weight gauge. So what I chose is, I never know how to pronounce this, Isager, I don't know, alpaca 1. This is just a tiny leftover that I have in my stash. This is colorway 33. I think the colorway name is Rust or something like that, but it's the perfect color match for this Bio Shetland. Look at that. So this is my color combo for the Mara Blouse, and it is a bold color combo for at least what I'm used to doing with my knitting, but I think I like how these colors look next to each other. I mean, I know I like in a skein form, but I'm still trying to decide what I think of the fabric. And while I get my project situated here with my hanger, a lovely viewer reminded me to be careful so that this Mara blouse wouldn't look too similar to my Soulless tee, and thank you so much for pointing that out. I am keeping an eye on that as I go, but I think it's safe to say it's not going to be an issue because I am going to add stripes, no, not stripes, long sleeves to my Mara blouse, and this orange, well, I think it's enough to not make it too similar to my Soulless. And now I can see the lighting is a bit different. The sun is coming in and out today, but well, let's keep going. I think you can see everything here. So this is my Mara blouse so far. It's still unblocked, so it looks a bit wonky. And it doesn't look like it, but the color is done. But it's rolling like nobody's business. So you can't even see it, I think. And let me show you the back. I'm still deciding whether I like these colors together, like the fabric, but I think it looks good. It reminds me a little bit of a Halloween costume. That's why I'm not 100% sure, but I think I'm overthinking things, right? I usually overthink things a lot, and I think that's another example of that. Now, this yarn, I am using this Bio Shetland. I think I shared that last episode of the podcast. I didn't have enough to knit the Mara blouse, so I got my hands on 2 more skeins, I think, that arrived a couple of days ago. And now the problem is this lace weight alpaca, this alpaca 1. I don't have enough. I think I am around 100 meters short, the total meterage I need to finish my Mara blouse, but I'm still in denial mode, and I'm trying to make it work with this much yarn. I mean, who am I kidding? I don't have enough. I am still, what? At least 1/3 away from finishing the body and have both sleeves to knit. They're going to be pretty long sleeves. So yeah, I definitely don't have enough, but like I said, I'm enjoying my denial phase at the moment, and someday in the future I will get my hands on 1 extra ball of this alpaca 1. My first idea for this project was to knit a cardigan instead of a long-sleeved tee, but like I said, I had issues trying to cast on the Midland cardigan, and I felt like a dark orange and pink cardigan wouldn't be that wearable in my wardrobe. So I think this long-sleeved Mara blouse is going to be perfect. I am knitting it to pattern, but since I am using sport weight yarn and the pattern calls for, well, it has instructions for both fingering and DK weight yarn, I am following the fingering weight version, and I am knitting, I think, the 3rd size, since I am completely off gauge again, but I am knitting it to pattern. The only modification I made was on the raglan shaping here, because I think the pattern includes a 2-stitch raglan, if I'm not mistaken, and I modified it to 1-stitch raglan just to make it a little more subtle. I didn't know if it was going to bring too much attention to this area of the yoke, but maybe it didn't make any difference. I don't know. What I always, I like the final look of it, and I think it's going to look really cute in the end. And like I said, the color is already done, but it's just a I-cord edge. It doesn't really bring much attention to it, which is exactly what I like for this project. Maybe once I block this and this thing stays nice and flat, it will look a little bit better, but this is it so far. And I added stripes all the way from the cast on edge. The same thing I did on my Soulless tee that I finished a couple of weeks ago. Didn't require any special modifications because of that. I just made sure to finish the front shoulder here at the same point in the stripe sequence. I finished the back so that everything matched once I joined front and back. So this is what I have here. Let me show you the shoulder so you can get a close-up look of what's happening. I hope the camera is focusing. This collar is pretty wide around my neck. It has an oval shape, and I like that very much when I look at the pattern photos, but when I try this on, I'm not 100% convinced that I like this oval shape on me. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think everything is going to be just fine. I don't dislike it, so that's enough for now. I think I can only get a really good idea of how this color looks on me once I block this project, but well, maybe I will block this after I'm done filming today. I don't know, we'll see what happens. But now let's talk about my second cast on. And this was such an impulsive cast on, but I need to move things around here. Oh, I don't need my hanger anymore because I cast on a shawl. And I was not planning on working on a shawl in the summer, but it happened, and I'm surprised to say that I'm really enjoying it so far. So what I have here is a cross between the Sophie shawl and I think it's the Simple Thing. Oh shoot, now I don't remember the name of the designer, but I will make sure to put it on the screen. The Sophie shawl is by Petit Knit, and from what I understand, the Simple Thing is kind of the Sophie shawl dupe or something like that. But my first idea for this second cast on was to work on something easy and fun after that whole Mara Blouse cast on debacle. But I wanted to work on something from my stash. I didn't want to buy yarn for a new project. So I came across this yarn here. This is Istex Plottulopi. This is 100% Icelandic wool, if I'm not mistaken. And this is unspun yarn. I used this yarn for my Daily Stripes cardigan by Veronica Lynchburg last year, and I had a bit left over. So this is the colorway Ivory Beige. I don't know where I put the label, but trust me, this is Istex Plottulopi. And this yarn is so fragile, it breaks just by looking at it, since it is unspun. So I'm trying to be as careful as I possibly can. But, well, if it breaks, at least it's very easy to spit splice it together. Or water splice it together, since I don't really like to use my split for joining yarn. Anyway, let's move on. Like I said, I was not expecting to knit a worsted weight shawl in August, but well, we've been getting some chilly mornings now, so I am taking advantage of that to work on this unspun shawl. And I think this is going to be the perfect use for my leftovers. Let me just get a little bit more yarn here. This is just a pretty long garter stitch shawl Let me try to show you the entire thing. So you start this shawl by casting on for one tip and you work on this from tip to tip. The Sophie shawl is a pretty famous pattern. I think everybody has heard of it by now, but I never felt really excited to cast one on. But when I came across this leftover, I felt like it was going to be the perfect project to use every little bit of this yarn, since I don't really plan on ever buying this again. Not because of the quality of this yarn, but this thing breaks really easily, and I don't enjoy knitting with such a fragile yarn as much. I can't really take it with me on the go, and I have to be careful when I am pulling yarn from this cake or plate, I think it's called, maybe. So yeah, that's not really my style, but I really enjoy the fabric it creates. It has a lot of fluff, almost like knitting with mohair. I hope you can see the fluff on camera. Maybe you can see it here, using my hair as the background. But I think everything is going to be just fine. This is a little bit scratchy, and I wasn't really sure about this scratchiness around my neck. I felt like it could maybe become a bit uncomfortable after a few minutes of wearing this shawl, but I saw that many people used Istex Platulopi for a Sophie shawl and other neck accessories, so I think it's going to be fine. At least I'm willing to take the risk if that means I can use up all my leftovers. And the reason I said I am knitting a shawl that is a cross between two patterns is because I am using the cast on of the Simple Thing, but the dimensions of the Sophie shawl. Although I never really felt excited to cast on the Sophie shawl, I always liked the shape of it because it has a very elongated wingspan and a short width here. And I really like that because that means I don't have a lot of bulk around my neck when I'm wearing this, but at the same time it is long enough that I can wrap it around my neck one time and tie a little knot with the tips, I guess. And that's exactly the way I like to wear my shawls. I used the cast on edge from the Simple Thing, and this shawl here, or at least my version, has I-cord running on both sides, and the cast on edge here is really nice because it looks like the I-cord is going around the tip, and I think this creates a really clean edge. I'm really happy with the finishing details. So then I started increasing. So this is it. Where is the halfway point? Here. I think you can, maybe if I show you this other side, you can see my stitch marker right here. I hope you can see what I'm trying to show you, but this is a pretty long shawl, which is exactly what I like. I like to feel very cozy and toasty with a shawl wrapped around my neck during the winter, and I think this is going to give me exactly that. And this is such a quick and easy project that I have already done a good section of my decreases. So this is the widest part of my shawl here where I am pinching with my fingers, and this is how far I've gotten. I still have a little bit left to do, and yes, this is such a satisfying project, especially after the whole drama with my other cast on, so I'm really enjoying this. And I think this is going to be ready to wear just in time to enjoy the first few days of fall, especially because I think this color will pair really nicely with some of my trench coats and other winter accessories I have. So it was the perfect combo of project, leftover, colorway, and I can't wait to have this done and ready to wear. So that's all I have to share with you today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. If you have, don't forget to subscribe, give this video a like, and leave a comment down below. It really helps the channel and I really appreciate it. I will see you next week with a fresh new video for you, and until then, happy knitting. Bye!